afternoon and welcome to the Living Well radio program. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATV 89.3 in Anchorage as well as KJLP 88.9 on Palmer. You can also catch us online at katv.org. And I'm trying not to crack up because Candace is over here with her invisible instrument playing our music.
They call it air guitar. Is that what they call it?
It's my air fiddle.
Air fiddle.
Air fiddle. Anyhow, my name is Camille, and I'm always joined by my lovely friend Betty. Say hi to everybody today, Betty.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, we are so thrilled today to have a couple good friends joining us in the studio. Always a pleasure to have women in and just get to know the ministries that they serve in, as well as a little bit about them and get enlightened to how they serve the Lord. But we are joined by Candace and Camille from Cornerstone Women's Ministry, and they are here today just to talk to us about all things women and just their experiences they've had in serving in that ministry. So say hi to everybody, guys.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
If you wouldn't mind just giving us a brief little 411, just so our listeners can get to know who we've got here today, we'd sure appreciate that.
Well, I'm Candace, and I am from Alaska most of my life. My parents were stationed here when I was 6 months old, so I'm pretty much a lifer. I met and married my husband after meeting him at Liberty University.
Liberty, woohoo!
We have 2 children. Grace is 12, Landon is 9, and I've pretty much been involved in some aspect of women's ministry for most of my adult life. It's just a passion that Camille and I actually have both shared together, and it's just been fun serving together.
Absolutely. I'm sure you guys have a great time.
Oh,
we do.
Yes.
Camille?
Well, my husband and I moved here about 14 years ago from Oregon so that I could attend school. And Candace is actually one of the very first people that I met. She actually interviewed me for my first and only job, I'm still there, that I have now.
Really?
Yeah, and we've been serving in some aspect of ministry ever since.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
So what led you guys to be in the ministry that you're currently serving in there at Cornerstone?
I think pretty much just seeing the need for it, and where we've seen in our own lives the importance of having a place where women can come together and learn from and grow with one another. And so I think we just saw the need there and volunteered.
I love how you say grow together.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that women arrive and then suddenly have something to teach. It's growing together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Has this been a learning experience for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it has been. It has grown and stretched me in ways that I never could foresee.
God is so good about that. And
He
he's
is.
but he's so gentle and kind about the stretching.
Yeah.
You know, it hurts us, but he's really, really kind about it.
And he equips us for it.
Right. But Camille, I know that when you were asked to take this position, that you waited a while before you implemented anything new. Would you tell us just a little bit about that?
Absolutely. When I was asked to take over women's ministry, it was way outside of my comfort zone in that I'm very much an introvert. And most days, and I don't know if other women feel this way, but most days I feel like I can barely lead myself. Yeah, how am I supposed to lead a group of women? But I quickly learned that it really has nothing to do with me and everything to do with him, and that he is so faithful to fill in the gaps where I have my inadequacies. And he's given me an incredible team of women to work with. So being new to ministry, I felt that it was best to just kind of sit back and observe and see what the needs were in our church, and to kind of listen to the women, meet with the women, and hear what the cry of their heart was before I went in and just started establishing a bunch of programs that maybe weren't really needed.
I love that. I absolutely love that you took the time to get to know your women, to talk to them, to see where their heart was at. I just think that's the greatest thing ever. And I couldn't help but think when you said that you were an introvert, how God brought this girl, Candace, into your life, who was anything but
She's so
an
quiet.
introvert. I know, really, you know. I don't know how they get any communication done, because Candace is so quiet and reserved. So
I
now
bring balance to the force.
it's great. You know, God is so good to bring people on your team. I can speak for Alaska Christian Women. he has been so good to bring people to our team that have the skills and the abilities that I definitely don't have. And so it makes you whole.
Yeah, and when you're seeing the picture of the body of Christ,
Right.
you know, he's made all the different parts and pieces to do different things, and we complement one another because we're part of his body.
Exactly. We're so different on the outside, clearly. Well, people can't see. You're like 5'10" blonde, and I'm not. But even with our personality differences, we're so alike on the inside. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but the things that matter, we couldn't be more in sync with one another.
Identical twins, in fact.
Yes.
And that just makes working together even more fun and easier.
Yes. We've been working with one another for so long that we don't even require communication. Really, like we can just look at each other in a given situation and we know exactly what needs to be done, what the other person is thinking, and so it makes serving really easy.
That's great. Well, I'm sure that you have planned all kinds of great things, and I want you to tell us about some of the things that you have already done in the past and some things that are coming up. We're just going to give you the microphones and you go.
Well, one of the things that was born from our year of observing is that we did hear our women saying that they wanted more opportunities for fellowship. And just to backtrack a little bit, we have a mission statement because we thought it was really important at the beginning to have something that could serve almost like as a litmus test. Like, are we doing what we said we wanted to do? And our mission statement is connecting women with the Father and his children. And so while our events are few, they are very intentional and purposeful. And so based on hearing that women wanted more opportunities and knowing that it wasn't really feasible to have large events every month, I always give people the analogy, it's kind of like having a mini wedding every 3 months when you really realize what goes into these events. But from that, we started a series called Second Saturdays. And as the name would allude to, it is on the second Saturday of every month. We do meet early in the morning, and that was also intentional. We start at 7:30 and we try to finish by 9, because we know that Saturdays are a sacred time for most people with their families, and we didn't want to interfere with that. So we do have a coffee bar at Cornerstone Mission Espresso, so we have that open from 7:30 to 8, and then it's a how-to series. And so we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could learn something together? And so we just had our first event last Saturday, and as we were preparing, we didn't do any kind of registration. It was just advertising and word of mouth. And I had told the ladies beforehand, I'm like, it could just be the 4 of us, but we had a packed house.
Yeah.
Wow.
God was so good. We had over 30 women, and I know we had a number of churches represented, women that came. So that was such a blessing. And then it was really awesome to see that women actually came early. Like probably about 7, we're still setting up, and women are starting to trickle in. And it's like, okay.
Wow.
So we put them to work helping set up.
That's good.
And they stayed and they lingered and visited afterwards, and that's really what we wanted. It's like the topics may not always appeal to you, but I hope that people see it not so much as what we're teaching, but that they'll have the opportunity to just hang out with their sisters.
Relationships. Yeah.
That's really what's important to us. So our next one is October 8th, and Candace and I will actually be teaching that one on tablescaping.
Is it open to everybody?
It is
Well,
open
yes.
to
I
I was going to
everyone.
ask too, yeah.
October 8th.
We're just going to show you really great ways to adorn your table with things that you already own or with inexpensive items that you can, get your hands on easily. And then in November, we'll be doing creative gift giving. And then in December, we actually won't be having one because that falls on the same day as our annual bazaar, the Wonderfully Made Bazaar at Cornerstone.
Oh, yes. That's
The
already on
best
my
of the
calendar.
best.
Already on my calendar. Is the apron lady going to be there? That's my favorite
Ooh.
booth, the one that makes the aprons.
That's a great question. I can find out for you.
I would
Actually,
pre-
I can text her right now.
And so where do women go, Camille or Candace, to find out about these events? What's your Facebook page or website?
So our Facebook page is facebook.com/AK Cornerstone Women's Ministry. And then on Instagram, we are at WM Cornerstone. So you can find us at either of those locations. Our church website would be www.akcornerstone.org, and you can, of course, just follow the women's ministry link on there.
Would it be okay if I advertise these events on Alaska Christian Women's calendar?
Absolutely. We
Okay.
can give you all that information. So you can do
That's
that.
great.
You have to do that quickly, Betty, because October 8th is only 3 days away.
This is true, but I can do that quickly.
Okay, good. Get that live.
Well, at least they don't have to register.
Exactly.
Just
So-
show up.
Just show up. That'd be something if you had 100 women. Wouldn't that
We'd be
something?
cutting the bagels in fourths, but we'd make it feed the
Or
5,000.
everybody take a bite and pass it around. That would work.
Well, I did hear, I don't know if you're not familiar with our church, we have the sanctuary and then we have a smaller room, like I'd mentioned earlier, where our coffee bar is called Fireside Room. And someone told me, I'm praying that you outgrow this room.
Okay.
So
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
it would be. It would be.
I see it as such a need for women to have the opportunity to get together and just chat, just talk, just enjoy being a woman.
Right. And we also want women to know that our intention is not to always just have craft related topics. We want to also get into the topics of how do you study your Bible? How do you mentor someone? We have a lot of young women. In fact, we had an opportunity
On Wednesday.
on Wednesday to speak with our youth group. And so we were able to let them know that women's ministry is for you too.
Good.
Like women's ministry is for all women, all ages. Because that was one of the things that we saw is there's such a gap between, for the girls that are in high school, and then there's that transition period when they're not in high school, but yet they still kind of don't consider themselves to be an adult. And I think there's a misconception that women's ministry is for your mom.
Yes.
And so we want them to know that it isn't. It's for everyone. And so we were able to also pick their brain and kind of get ideas that they would like to see for topics in the future as well. So we want to try to have a little bit of everything for everyone.
I think for many years ago, women's ministry was for our mom. But now everything's evolved, everything has changed, and everybody's trying to bridge the generations because we're losing so many of the girls when they graduate.
Right.
And so everybody's working really hard to bring them in and to keep them.
Yep, get them plugged in
Right.
at an earlier age, and then when they hit those critical, formative years, it's like, hey, you have a support system.
It was really important to us to reach that age group that we actually invited a young woman, Hallie, to be on women's ministry with us.
That's
and
great.
She's 18. And it's because we need that perspective. We need to know what's important to you. What are you struggling with?
Can you share anything that they told you? Any ideas any things that they would like to see happen?
Well, some of the
Anytime.
girls were saying it would be fun even just to know how to cook, because a lot of them are thinking, college is on the horizon, and a lot of times that means moving away from home, and that's just not something that's been on their radar. Or some of them come from families where there's not a mom figure, and so being able to engage with women who love the Lord and can just help them in their spiritual walk to make it something that's not just a superficial, all the right Sunday school answers, but a true relationship with the Lord. And so there was some people that made mention of that. One fun one was teaching firearms. So I'm not sure we'll dive right into that one right away, but they it was kind of across the board. There were quite a few different little things that we hadn't yet thought of.
Well, the awesome thing about that, though, is we do have on our team someone, though, who would be very equipped to teach a class on firearms. So it was really neat that every time they said a suggestion, is like we immediately could think of a person like, oh, they would be really awesome at that.
That's good. I'm glad you asked them their opinions. That makes them have a little bit of ownership in it.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I just got a text earlier where someone was saying how much it meant to them that we had gone and spoke with them, and that they had felt that there had been a real connection. And
Good.
so, and that was actually born from their mouth as well, because I was asking, what can we do to make you feel, for lack of a better word, wanted at these events? And they said, well, if you came and talked to us. So I was like, all right, let's do this.
Good. I'm sitting here, and of course, the ones listening cannot see you, but I can. But I have to say, I watch your face light up, and I can hear the passion in your voice, and I can see your eyes, how there's kind of sparkling as you're talking about women's ministry. So I know that you're in the right place. You're exactly where God wants you, and I can hear it. And if the ladies that are listening could see it, they would know it too.
Well, and what I love too is just how quickly you can pick up that you are serving from a place of, inadequacy that you felt in the beginning, and that you're serving through that weakness. And that's just so apparent, just how faithful you've been to be obedient to a call that you certainly probably didn't intend on in your life. So,
Surprise!
I want to ask you about an event I was told that you did last year, but I want to make this, October is Pastor Appreciation Month. And we must not forget our pastors' wives. So I want to encourage anybody that's listening to do something special for your pastor's wife during the month of October. But you all did something special for your pastor's wife last year, did you not?
Yes. We actually took the time to honor all of our staff wives, because I think if you've ever known people that serve in ministry, you know that they do a lot of pouring in, but they oftentimes are not filled up. And so we wanted to just take the time to fill them up and show our appreciation for the work and the time and the energy that they pour into our church family. And so just honoring them, we asked each of their husbands to write a letter of appreciation to each of them, and so that was extra special to them. They had no idea that was coming, and we did the 10 things about you that people may not know, and so that was kind of a fun way to get to know just some of the quirky little things that you don't ever learn about a staff member's wife or whatever. But it was just a really special time to build them up in the Lord, and I think that they really enjoyed it for sure.
We also wanted to do it because we've been very blessed at Cornerstone, and we've been growing. And I think that we had grown to an extent where a lot of people weren't even really sure maybe who the pastors' wives were. And so one of the things that we had asked from the pastors pastors' wives is to give us a prayer request that they had. And so we made up cards that we handed out there so that the church could be in prayer for them.
And I know too, when we had initially talked about it, it was almost difficult for them to say yes to it, because they're like, no, we don't want you to glorify us or whatever. And it was funny, Pastor Brad had actually spoken on a verse that was the key verse we had already picked for that event. And it's in Romans 12:10. It says, love one another with brotherly affection, outdo one another in showing honor. And so scripturally, we're commanded to do that. And we felt that honoring those women and the hard work that they've put into ministry and supporting their husband and supporting our church family, that honored God, that we would honor them.
We did a survey at our last event because we just kind of wanted to further pick the brains of our women. And one of the questions that we had put on there was, what was your favorite event that we did? And I think hands down that was the one that everyone wrote down.
That's great.
that is great. That is really neat. I know I've heard from other women that attend Cornerstone just awesome feedback from that event and how touching it was.
Yeah.
That's great. So you had mentioned during your season of just trying to assess what the women of Cornerstone needed. You mentioned fellowship, that there was a need to fill or bridge the gap between generations. Was there any other things that you learned during that time that you knew this is a need that we need to meet through this ministry?
I think just the fact that so many women feel alone. We were just talking about this last night, how I believe shame to be one of Satan's greatest tools in isolating us. You know, he likes to convince us that we're alone in our sin, that no one thinks like you, no one acts like you, and he just keeps us in bondage to that. And so we're really transparent. When we speak, when we have our devotionals at our events, we really just try to come from a place of just authenticity, and to let women know we're struggling, and just hopefully that will give them the confidence to also be authentic and to ask for help, to reach for help. So like I said earlier, connection has just been such a huge part of everything that we do. We recently remodeled our bathroom at Cornerstone, and we put on there a prayer request wall, and it was like, I hope people get it. Like, I hope it's something that that people want to be a part of. And so the whole premise of it is that we have little cards there, and you can write a prayer request, but then the hope is to also take one so that we can be in prayer for one another. And I can't tell you how many women have come up to me with tears in their eyes, just saying how much that means to them. So just creating and fostering that connection and that you belong and that people care.
Yeah, what beautiful ideas to cultivate community amongst your women. What I think is interesting, and Betty, help me out if I don't articulate this thought right, but I love what you say about being authentic, because we hear that a lot amongst women, but then the question we have to ask ourselves is, are we prepared for women to be authentic with us? Are you prepared to receive what she's about to share with you about her life? And so as important as it is to be authentic, it's also important to be willing to receive that and not just expect that I'm fine answer. Do you really want her to share how she's doing? Do you? So you've stirred my heart in just evaluating that as well. It's certainly something we need to step up to as women and be prepared to carry our sisters' burdens and bring them before the Lord. And I love your idea of the prayer wall where women can do that. That's really neat.
Within your congregation, do you have a vast majority of women that are working outside the home or inside the home, or are they mostly stay-at-home moms?
I feel like we have a pretty good balance. Like, we've got the whole cross section, retired, working, stay-at-home moms. We've got some moms that are part-timers, moms that are in full-time ministry. I mean, it's a pretty good cross-section. I wouldn't say that we're heavy in any one of those areas, really.
I agree with that.
And when you have your events, do you notice that women from all walks of life will attend, or is it just particularly one group of women that will come? Or
It seems to be the whole gamut. And what I like about that is we've really tried to make sure that when we have these events that they are for all ages and that somebody from each generation can get something out of it, because we don't want it to be exclusive to any one group of women. And so I can honestly say we have just a really good balance of all ages, and isn't that what it's supposed to be, you know, so that we're all learning, you know, someone who's younger is learning from someone who's gone before, someone who's older is learning like, ooh, this is what's now. And so I think that's been kind of a cool thing to see at those events.
Definitely. This is by no means like a problem, but the struggle I find sometimes is how to reach them in the sense of email, social media. That's where I notice the biggest gap. Because you have a lot of people that are on Facebook and Instagram, and that's their sole means of getting information, and then you have other people that
they just want a flyer.
Yeah.
A paper flyer.
So, you know, trying to make sure that I'm hitting all of the different avenues of reaching people.
You're absolutely correct. I find that too. You know, trying to get the word out to everybody. Sometimes I think it's almost impossible. You know, but we do everything we do: email, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. We even tried Pinterest now, flyers, announcements, and invariably we will still miss somebody. You know?
Well, one thing that we just started at our church, and I think this does kind of get a lot of people, because nearly everyone has a smartphone, is we have texting abilities now. So actually, if you wanted to text CWM, and I believe, does it have to be capitalized?
Yes.
Capitalized CWM to 51660, and you will get texts on all of the women's events.
Oh, really?
Very cool.
Wow.
So I feel like that's going to be really effective. Our first one that went out at 5 in the morning. Oops. So we did fix that.
Oh. Wrong time zone?
I quickly got a text at 5:02 from someone else. I'm like, we'll work on that.
So just using that as an example, is that a text message that goes out to the women of your church in general, or are these women who have attended something before and kind of opted in?
Any women that send the capital CWM to the number 51660, if they want information on Cornerstone Women's Ministry, that will automatically send a text to them every time.
Yeah.
Got it.
If you opt in, then you're in.
Got it.
I love that.
It's
Yes.
really handy.
It
You
is.
might have to give me a lesson here.
Yeah.
real
We had
soon.
an event where we had a mug exchange, and so it was really nice to be able to send out, hey, ladies, don't forget, to get your mugs. And so,
Right.
And what a great
little
way to use
reminders.
as a reminder. Yes, the day before, the day of. I've got that written down and starred. I may just copy it for you.
You should.
Okay. Now back to the Wonderfully Made.
I was just going to mention that. Yes, go ahead.
so I got a response,
The
and she
aprons.
said the 2 ladies with aprons last year are coming back.
Okay.
So
That's what
I'm
I
going
wanted
to
know.
say that's a yes then.
Just in case there's somebody listening who does not know what this Wonderfully Made is, tell us a little bit about it.
Oh man, the Wonderfully Made Christmas Bazaar. Oh, shame on me for not remembering what year we're in. I feel like this is like year 4 maybe. We'll get an answer on that. But anyway, it's a local artisans that do anything from making really cute aprons that Miss Betty loves to homemade foods, delicious treats, art, you name it, and they are here at the Wonderfully Made Christmas Bazaar. There are more than 100 vendors that come, and they fill every available space in our church. And it takes up all day Saturday, and again, that's on December 10th. And they basically are open to the public for the whole day. It's free admission. There's food that you can purchase there. You can buy all kinds of wonderful gifts and treasures for your friends and family. But it's just a great time to get some Christmas shopping done, but at the same time, just hang around some really great, talented individuals sharing their wares.
And Karen did say that it has been 5 years.
Awesome. Very good.
Cheers.
I just want to kind of close us out with this one question, and I probably already know the answer to this, but I think it's important for women to hear. If there's a woman listening, her husband doesn't attend church, has no desire to attend church, or maybe she's even just a unmarried woman, can she attend your women's functions, and is she going to get loved on there and feel welcome?
Absolutely. Please come. And if not ours, any of the churches here in Anchorage, we just encourage to get connected somewhere.
Do you have contact info? We may have already talked about this. Can you share that again if a woman wants to
Yes,
contact
sure.
one of you or has a question?
So our Facebook page would be facebook.com/AK Cornerstone Women's Ministry. On Instagram, we are at WM Cornerstone. And then we have our email, which is women@akcornerstone.org.
Girls, thank you. It has been fun.
Thank
It's been
you.
informative. We've had a great time. And I look forward to seeing you in December at Wonderfully Made. Who knows? I might show up for the tablescape if I can get
better.
myself out of bed and get there at
can do
7:30. Get there at
We'll have a
7:30.
coffee for you.
There
I
you
don't
go.
drink
That's
coffee.
tempting. Oh,
How about a Diet Coke?
Let's find her a
sometimes
Red Bull
Betty
or
drinks
something.
coffee.
Occasionally I'll drink coffee.
We'll have something for you.
Something with caffeine. All right.
We'll hook you up.
Thanks again, ladies, so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us. It's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. And that's another Living Well radio program. And again, you can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage, as well as KJLP 88.9 on Palmer. And you can always catch us online at katb.org. And you can find the post recordings at our Facebook page at Living Well Radio. Thank you.